Welcome to Globewise Entertainment, your passport to the glitz, the glam, and the grit behind the golden screen. Hollywood's golden age gave us unforgettable stars, legendary films, and timeless charm. But behind the bright lights and red carpets, some of these icons were hiding seriously dark secrets. From shocking scandals to real-life crimes the studios tried to bury, we're uncovering the hidden criminal pasts of 20 of the biggest names in classic cinema. And hey, if you haven't subscribed to Globewise Entertainment yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button now and join us for more untold stories from the world of entertainment. 1. Errol Flynn, the swashbuckler with a sinister side. Errol Flynn was the ultimate heartthrob of the 1930s and 40s, dashing, charming, and always ready with a devil-may-care grin. Known for iconic roles in Captain Blood and The Adventures of Robin Hood, Flynn embodied the heroic rogue on screen. But behind the scenes, he lived as recklessly as the characters he played. In 1942, Flynn's off-screen adventures took a dark turn when he was charged with statutory rape involving 2 underage girls. The trial captivated the nation, and nearly destroyed his career. Despite the shocking allegations, Flynn was acquitted, and the scandal only seemed to boost his bad boy reputation. The phrase, "in like Flynn," was born during the trial, a crude nod to his notorious escapades. But the truth was more disturbing than playful. Rumors of alcohol-fueled parties, manipulation, and abuse followed him throughout his life. Though never convicted, Flynn's image as a rakish womanizer was not just Hollywood flair, it was deeply rooted in controversy. Flynn died young, at just 50, from a heart attack. Some say it was the final curtain on a man who lived too fast and too dangerously, a golden age icon with a past as dark as it was glamorous. 2. Robert Mitchum, the cool rebel caught in the smoke. He had the sleepy eyes, the deep voice, and that devil-may-care swagger that made Robert Mitchum a Hollywood icon. Known for his roles in gritty film noir classics like Out of the Past and The Night of the Hunter, Mitchum practically invented the "too cool to care" persona. But in 1948, that attitude got him into real trouble. Mitchum was arrested during a late-night raid in a Hollywood Hills home, caught red-handed with marijuana. The press exploded. He was charged with possession and sentenced to 60 days behind bars. For most stars, it could have ended a career. But Mitchum? He shrugged it off like one of his movie roles. Studio execs panicked at first, but then leaned into his bad boy image, spinning the bust into free publicity. When Mitchum walked out of jail, he did it with swagger and a smile, and audiences loved him even more. Behind the scenes, though, Mitchum struggled with fame, the press, and the pressure to play a part even off-screen. What was once seen as scandal became legend, but the truth was, Robert Mitchum was never acting. He really was the outlaw Hollywood couldn't tame. 3. Charlie Chaplin, the comedic genius with a controversial past. Charlie Chaplin was the face of silent film comedy, a man beloved worldwide for his little tramp persona and revolutionary cinematic style. But behind the bowler hat and slapstick charm was a life riddled with scandal, controversy, and brushes with the law. In the 1940s, Chaplin's personal life began to overshadow his fame. He was accused of violating the Mann Act, transporting a woman across state lines for immoral purposes, a serious federal offense at the time. Though he was eventually acquitted, the trial exposed intimate details of his personal relationships, including with underage girls, which shocked the public and tarnished his reputation. The U.S. government also labeled Chaplin a suspected communist sympathizer during the Red Scare. J. Edgar Hoover's FBI kept extensive files on him, and when Chaplin left the U.S. in 1952 to attend a film premiere in Europe, the government revoked his re-entry permit. Effectively exiled, he didn't return to America for 20 years. From hero to outcast, Charlie Chaplin's story is a reminder that even the most iconic faces of Hollywood could be hiding shadows behind the spotlight. 4. Fatty Arbuckle, the scandal that rocked Hollywood. In the early 1920s, Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle was one of the most beloved and highest-paid stars in silent film. A comedic genius with a gentle face and booming laugh, Arbuckle helped launch the careers of Buster Keaton and Bob Hope. But in 1921, his career came crashing down in a scandal that shocked the nation. At the height of his fame, Arbuckle hosted a wild party at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco. Days later, actress Virginia Rappe, who had attended the party, was dead. Arbuckle was accused of raping and accidentally killing her, a charge that ignited a media frenzy and moral panic. He faced 3 separate trials. The first 2 ended in hung juries, but in the third, he was fully acquitted, even receiving a rare public apology from the jury. Still, the damage was done. Studios pulled his films, and the public turned on him. Despite being found innocent, his name was blacklisted, and he never fully recovered. Fatty Arbuckle's fall was Hollywood's first major scandal, a tale of fame, outrage, and the destructive power of rumors in an era where public opinion could ruin a star overnight. 5. Spade Cooley, the violent fall of a Hollywood cowboy. Spade Cooley was once a beloved figure in Golden Age Hollywood, known for his roles as a charming cowboy in Western films and his success as a big band leader. Cooley's smooth talk, good looks, and musical talent made him a popular name in the 1940s and 1950s. But beneath the bright lights and the velvet cowboy hat was a dark, violent side to Cooley that would eventually unravel his career and life. Cooley's downward spiral began with his tumultuous marriage to his wife, Ella May, a woman who endured his increasingly erratic behavior. Known for his short temper and outbursts of violence, Cooley's darker nature became more evident as the years went on. His struggles with alcohol worsened, and his controlling and abusive tendencies toward Ella May became more frequent and more vicious. In 1961, the nightmare finally reached its tragic conclusion. Spade Cooley, after a night of drinking, brutally attacked his wife in front of their children. The abuse was so severe that Ella May died from the injuries she sustained. Cooley was arrested and charged with murder, and his trial shocked both Hollywood and the public. While the trial was full of salacious details about his violent actions, Cooley's once celebrated career in Hollywood was effectively destroyed. The man who had once been the face of the cowboy hero was now seen as a murderer. Cooley was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. His rise and fall from fame were swift and unforgiving. Spade Cooley's tragic story serves as a stark reminder of how dark secrets can lurk beneath the surface of Hollywood's glitz and glam. The man who once led big bands and starred in beloved westerns became a symbol of the shocking fall of a star, a fall that led to his life in prison, and eventually, his death in 1969. 6. Gig Young, a Hollywood tragedy. Gig Young was once one of Hollywood's shining stars, known for his charm, good looks, and impressive acting talents. He earned an Oscar for his role in They Shoot Horses, Don't They? 1969, and was a favorite in both film and television. However, beneath the glitz of his career lay a dark and tragic secret. Young's life off-screen was plagued by tumultuous relationships, alcohol abuse, and personal demons. His darkest moment came in 1978, when he was involved in a shocking murder-suicide. At the age of 64, he shot his 5th wife, actress and dancer Kim Schmidt, before turning the gun on himself. The couple had been married for just over a year, and their marriage had been troubled, with reports of frequent arguments and Young's increasing emotional instability. Before this tragedy, Young had been in and out of rehab multiple times, struggling with alcoholism and a string of failed marriages. His professional career also began to decline, but this grisly act sealed his fate in Hollywood. In his death, Gig Young became a tragic figure, remembered more for his violent end than his Oscar-winning performances. His story is a heartbreaking reminder that even those who seem to have it all, fame, fortune, and adoration, could be battling hidden battles that led them down dark paths. Gig Young's life ended not with the applause of an audience, but with the shocking silence of a tragic event that Hollywood would never forget. 7. Paul Kelly, a life marked by tragedy and crime. Paul Kelly was once a handsome and well-known actor in the 1920s and 1930s, his charming presence making him a favorite in both silent films and early talkies. His striking looks and smooth acting style earned him major roles in Hollywood, where he was often cast as the dashing leading man. But behind the Hollywood smile, there lurked a darker side, one that would eventually take him from the screen to a prison cell. In 1927, Kelly's life took a devastating turn when he was involved in a tragic and violent incident. Kelly, who had a reputation for being hot-tempered and quick to anger, found himself caught in a bitter love triangle. The controversy escalated when he was accused of killing a man named James "Jimmy" Mitchum, who was said to be a rival for the affections of his girlfriend, a woman named Madge Bellamy. Kelly's temper had often gotten the best of him, and on this fateful day, it boiled over. In a heated argument with Mitchum, Kelly allegedly struck him in the head with a weapon, causing Mitchum's death. The police quickly arrived, and Kelly was arrested on charges of manslaughter. The scandal rocked Hollywood. At the time, stars were expected to be paragons of virtue, and Kelly's violent crime was a stark contrast to the charming image he had carefully crafted on screen. The trial was a media sensation, with the public fascinated by the life of this once untouchable star who had now fallen from grace. Though Kelly was eventually convicted of manslaughter, he served only a brief sentence and returned to acting after his release. However, the damage was done. His once promising career had been tainted, and though he continued to work in films, his reputation never fully recovered. The darker aspects of his past followed him throughout his life, and Hollywood would never see him in quite the same light again. Despite his efforts to rebuild his life and career, the criminal incident became a permanent part of his legacy, a stark reminder of the tragic, violent side of Hollywood that rarely made it to the big screen. 8. Tony Curtis, the Hollywood bad boy with a troubled past. Tony Curtis, the charming leading man of the Golden Age, known for his roles in iconic films like Some Like It Hot and Spartacus, wasn't always the clean-cut star he appeared to be on screen. Born Bernard Schwartz in 1925, Curtis grew up in poverty in New York City, and his troubled childhood would come to shape his future in ways that many didn't expect. Before his rise to fame, Curtis had a run-in with the law. In his youth, he became involved in petty crime, including theft and street brawls, a result of growing up in a tough neighborhood. But it wasn't just the streets that posed a danger to him. Curtis was also drawn to the wild and reckless lifestyle that came with Hollywood fame. Despite being a successful heartthrob, Curtis struggled with relationships, including a tumultuous marriage to actress Janet Leigh, and his life was often in the tabloids for the wrong reasons. His real-life antics mirrored the bad boy persona he sometimes played in films, and he became infamous for his notorious womanizing and heavy partying. Curtis had a history of reckless behavior, including a stint in a Hollywood bar fight that made headlines. While many of his escapades were brushed aside by the press, the darker side of his life became more evident when he admitted to struggling with substance abuse throughout his career, which only fueled the rumors of his erratic behavior. Behind the scenes, Curtis was also involved in the fast-paced, high-stakes world of gambling, which he later confessed to, revealing how he squandered large sums of money in a dangerous pursuit of thrills. Though he never faced any criminal charges that severely impacted his career, Tony Curtis's personal life was anything but the glamorous existence of his on-screen roles. Beneath the movie star exterior, Curtis battled with inner demons that remained a secret to many of his fans until much later in life. Today, Tony Curtis is remembered for his unforgettable performances and as a symbol of Hollywood's golden age. But his story is a reminder that even the brightest stars can harbor shadows beneath their glittering facades. 9. Mickey Rooney, the troubled star with a dark past. Mickey Rooney was one of Hollywood's most beloved and prolific actors, famous for his bright smile, charming personality, and immense talent. As a child star, he appeared in over 300 films, making him one of the most recognizable faces of Golden Age cinema. But behind his cheerful on-screen persona, Mickey Rooney's life was riddled with personal turmoil, legal battles, and a history of troubled relationships. Rooney's real-life struggles began early. His career skyrocketed in his youth, but as an adult, he struggled with alcoholism and financial difficulties. His personal life was filled with a series of tumultuous marriages. He had 8 in total, some of which were marked by allegations of abuse. His relationships with his wives were often stormy, and his behavior in private seemed to reflect the chaos he was feeling inside. Perhaps one of the most shocking aspects of his life was his legal troubles and run-ins with the law later in life. In 2003, Mickey was involved in a bitter legal battle over financial control, after he claimed his stepchildren had mismanaged his assets. His financial woes were exacerbated by reports of elder abuse from his late wife, Jan, who alleged that Rooney's stepson had taken advantage of his declining health and financial status. Despite these public scandals, Mickey Rooney was a beloved figure in Hollywood, even after his death in 2014. His career continued to inspire many in the industry, but his real-life struggles remain a reminder that not all stars shine as brightly behind the scenes. His criminal and personal battles were often overshadowed by his legendary career, but Mickey Rooney's dark past was never fully hidden from the public eye. 10. John Barrymore, the tragic king of Hollywood's dark side. John Barrymore, often hailed as the great profile, due to his striking good looks and powerful performances, was a legend of the golden age of Hollywood. Known for his dramatic flair and impressive Shakespearean roles, Barrymore was one of the era's most beloved actors. But behind the suave demeanor and his commanding presence on stage and screen, there was a darker, far more troubled side to the man. Barrymore's criminality wasn't of the traditional variety. There were no major arrests or public trials. However, his life was filled with public outbursts, violence, and scandalous behavior, many of which seemed to stem from his severe alcoholism. Throughout his career, Barrymore was involved in numerous high-profile incidents that would have been career-ruining for most stars. He had a reputation for being reckless and unpredictable, often showing up to work inebriated, which led to many of his relationships with studios and co-stars turning sour. His erratic behavior extended beyond the screen. There were reports of public fights, violent arguments with his ex-wives, and raucous parties that ended in brawls. Perhaps the most notable dark chapter of Barrymore's life was his tumultuous relationships with women. His marriages were marked by allegations of mistreatment, with stories of him being emotionally and physically abusive to his wives. His love affairs were well documented, but so were his quick tempers and the cruelty that sometimes accompanied them. In his later years, Barrymore's addiction spiraled out of control, further damaging his reputation. His behavior became erratic to the point where he was virtually unhireable. While some saw him as a tragic figure, others believed his fall from grace was inevitable given the demons he struggled with for so long. John Barrymore's criminality wasn't about breaking the law in a conventional sense, but it was about the chaos he wreaked on his personal life and career. The scandals that followed him through Hollywood's golden years ultimately tarnished the legacy of one of the most talented and charismatic stars of the era. And that wraps up our dive into the hidden scandals of old Hollywood. From red carpets to police reports, these stars lived double lives that history almost forgot, until now. Which story shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. We're always here for a good mystery. And if you haven't subscribed to Globewise Entertainment yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the stories that Hollywood tried to bury. Thanks for watching, and remember, in Hollywood, the truth is often stranger than the script. See you in the next video.